Hey everybody, welcome back to the Convo Couch. I am Fiorella and I'm just checking to make sure we are okay. And give me a second. Thank you for joining us. Okay. All right, it looks like this is as good as it gets today. Okay, so as I was saying, take two. Jimmy Dore is being accused of dividing the left, and not just Jimmy Dore, because he's somebody that speaks truth to power. He's somebody that has been saying a lot of these things that a lot of people aren't saying, but there's a few of us too that have been going that route, right? And we have been vilified and maligned and told that we are being divisive. Ironically, this is coming from supposed progressives that we're dividing the left, that we're creating a spectacle, as David Serrata put it in his Jacobin article today, that we are just, that we don't understand, that this is just all some like YouTube grift, right? And it's just really interesting to me because the vast majority of those people who said that, right? The vast majority of the people that are criticizing Dore and criticizing those of us like him who really call it like it is, right? Say what it is. We don't sit there and pray to these politicians. We don't sit there and become their little fans, because that's not the point of Congress. The point of Congress is for them to be public servants. They're supposed to serve you. They're not supposed to be there for you to admire them, for you to stand them, for you to say yes, queen, for any of that. Their whole job is to be public fucking servants. And if they're not doing that job, it is your job to say, hey, you're not doing that job. You don't get to just go and get paid while everybody else is getting screwed. And it's as simple as that. It has nothing to do with somebody hating AOC or any of that, because I was one of the people that was extremely supportive of AOC in the very beginning. And I've said this multiple times. Pasta and I attended several events. He literally was the MC for one of the events. I mean, we helped get her not just recognition, but we got her funding. This is nothing to do with any sort of like personal issue. This is about their duty as a public servant, right? And what I've been seeing the last 24 hours coming from the supposed left is that they're exposing themselves. They're unraveling. These people that we have been calling out on this show and have told you that are fakes and frauds and that are literally just here for, it's funny because it's gaslighting and it's hypocritical, because they're the ones pointing the finger, saying people like Dore and people that talk about these things and want to hold these progressives accountable are the ones grifting. No, they're the ones grifting you because they're not being objective. They're being fans to the squad instead of holding them accountable. So first of all, number one, they shouldn't even be voting for Pelosi. No fucking progressive should be voting for Nancy Pelosi, period. In fact, to me, that was the only issue I had with that plan, was that it was still involving somehow that they would vote for Pelosi in some form or another. Now, obviously, Jimmy put that out there knowing that these people would push back and not do it, because we have been telling you that these people are here for their careers and for climbing the political ladder, not for actually doing anything to serve the public. And it shows. And there's a lot of, I want to say, like neoliberal, intellectual, sort of like arrogant condescension coming from a lot of the the radlib left, I like to call them, or the neo-progressives, or whatever it is you call them, right? It's like they think that they're so intellectually superior to the average person, and they use that mindset to dismiss any sort of attempt at a direct action, because even though this is electoral and it's still involving the electoral process, it is, in a way, it was what he was proposing, a direct action. And we've talked about it on the show on multiple times. I'm at the point where I believe the only way to make change right now is through direct action. It is not through the slow process of the electorate. In fact, change has hardly ever come from pushing papers and sitting on committees and filing this and that. That doesn't happen without the demand from the public. And I think we've forgotten that as a nation every single time. You can go back to the civil rights movement. You can go back to the women's movement. You can go back to every single movement that this country has pretty much gone through. And you know that it's not at all come from you calling a politician simply and them saying, okay, we're going to do it with no pushback, or even as something as simple as the politician doing it on their own, because out of the goodness of their heart, because that's not how politics in the United States has manifested itself. It's manifested itself as a football game, and you pick your team and you cheer for your team. But that's not how it was supposed to be. That's not the point of democracy. We don't have democracy. And we've shown this time and time again with the way our elections are, with the way that we're being censored, with the way that the technocratic oligarchy is really reigning into the Joe Biden administration, with the way they gaslight every sort of questioning you have, and unfortunately what's happened is a lot of that contingent of the left, that a lot of them were part of the Bernie Sanders contingent or the Elizabeth Warren contingent, and they decided that it was more important to be a liberal light, to minimize this idea of direct action, or to only talk about it in terms of branding or in terms of, ooh, edgy, cool. And it's ironic because they say the same thing about people actually exposing the truth. And so I've just been hearing, Jimmy Dore's dividing the left, or you guys don't understand how politics works. Even AOC alluded to that when she has literally responded to every single person except Jimmy Dore himself. She responded to the article by Jacobin. She responded to something I think Ben Dixon posted. She responded to just every single person that called her out, right? And it's really telling to me. There's no respect for independent media from Congress, and it's not like it's expected, but come on, they respect MSNBC, they respect CNN, they hold the New York Times to a high regard, even though these institutions have been found to lie consistently to the American people. And it's just hilarious to me how she completely ignored Jimmy Dore when Jimmy Dore gave her a platform before she was completely unknown. And after that, she refused to go on his show. We actually had contact with one of her staffers, and initially it was all cool, like it was looked like she was coming on, and that never happened. This is how the nature of the progressive movement has happened, because what happens is they go in there, they start saying, oh, we're a grassroots campaign. You can talk about Justice Democrats. You can talk about brand new Congress. Oh yeah, we're here for the people, etc. But the vast majority of these people, when I looked at their platforms, they were missing a couple of things. And because I wanted to be positive and think, well, maybe they're gonna change, maybe they're gonna have more. No, it's usually they have less, or they take things out, or they change. They don't have, the vast majority of them don't have very much on foreign policy. There's only been a few candidates that I've seen break that mold. They don't have anything when it comes to civil liberties, meaning free speech, meaning anything about Julian Assange. They don't have anything when it comes to election integrity or like reforming our elections or any of that. And those are red flags. And what's happened is that there's been this opposition, and to somebody that doesn't know what's going on, it may look like Jimmy Dore is dividing by saying these things, but all he's saying is the truth. And a lot of us have been saying the people that, don't necessarily have his following, but, my friends, the Action for Assange, Slow News Day, Frank Analysis, these smaller channels that have been saying the same thing, Niko, like for forever about AOC, about the squad. Like it's not anything new, but the reality is it looks like it to somebody that's threatened by that. It looks like it's just somebody that's angry, and you get the whole, oh, why are you so angry? I had somebody attack me on Facebook because I posted about not wanting to vote for Democrats anymore, no matter who ran. And some of you may disagree with me, and that's fine. Go ahead and support Nina Turner in her run as a Democrat in Ohio. I totally understand that you think that the person is going to change the institution. I don't believe that is any longer the case. I used to think that maybe the person would bring in a movement and that would alter a change to the system. I don't believe that anymore because the Democratic Party tarnishes and corrupts everything it touches. And I don't see that being any different no matter who is running under the Democratic Party. And until we leave the Democratic Party and challenge them from an outside movement, and not just a party, but a movement, it's not going to happen. We're going to continue having that dependency. And when I see these people going after independent media and progressives in a way that is so condescending, it just reminds me of the way the Democrats went after Bernie supporters, went after Tulsi supporters, went after outsiders. Oh, you're just a purist. Oh, you don't understand how politics works. It's not enough to just rant about Democrats. It's not enough to just be angry all the time. Well, what the fuck do you want people to do if not be angry? Like, seriously, I'm like, what do you expect people to do, to have their hands tied and say, oh my God, can we please have Medicare for all? Can we please reform our elections? I'm begging you, please. I love you so much, but please do your fucking job. No, they're supposed to do their job. And if they don't do their job, you call them out. And that's all that's happening here. And I see all these excuses being made. Like Jimmy Dore, he's just a comedian. That's what bothers them, that Jimmy Dore is a fucking comedian doing a show out of his garage, and that he knows more and he has more political instinct and gravitas than some of these intellectuals that think they're so high and mighty because they read Marx every other day, or they say they read Marx because half of them, it really doesn't even seem like they understand, or they have this westernized idea of what socialism is, and they're in this little clique, and it's disgusting to see. And it's really obnoxious to watch these people make arguments to defend and dig in this hole of this sort of faux progressivism that they've wrapped themselves around. I mean, with AOC, even a year ago, you couldn't say anything about AOC without getting a lot of crap. It's come some way. People have realized what's going on, but it's still there. You're just angry. You just don't want to win. You guys don't know how this works. You have to do this in your committees and that. No, fuck that. People don't care. It's not their job. It's not Joe's job, Melissa's job, my job. It's not our job to care about how they get it done. It's their job to fucking get it done. Now, I am someone that looks into that and looks into how these things happen, how policy is made, how legislation is made. But at the same time, you can't expect that from the vast majority of Americans. They just see you sitting there and talking about going home for Christmas while they still don't have a fucking stimulus check. They see a pandemic. They see themselves getting sick, their families getting sick, and them not being able to have health care. That's all people care about, and that's all they're supposed to care about. Now, should people be more informed and aware of what's going on? Yeah, but so many people are losing everything they have. They're losing their homes, their jobs, their families. This isn't a joke, and it's not just from the pandemic. It is from the complete inefficient, lackluster, unempathetic actions and inactions taken by the people who are there to represent you and me. And they're not fucking doing that. And if they're not doing that, then there's nothing left to do when you have tried every avenue. Progressives, hello, you have tried to reform the Democratic Party. You have tried to get people in there to actually oppose Nancy Pelosi. We thought they were going to oppose Nancy Pelosi. Ilhan Omar has said multiple times she wasn't going to oppose Pelosi. AOC refuses to call her out at all. All of them do. Even Rashida Tlaib, all of them, every single one of them. Rokana, they don't go against what Pelosi does or says. And Pelosi is the gatekeeper. If you want to fight the right and the Republicans, how can we when we're constantly taken away from having any sort of ammunition towards them? We don't have the weapons to fight them because we're constantly trying to fight the Democrats in our own freaking party. So how dare you say that you can reform the Democratic Party when every single time they stab you and stab you and stab you and keep you from actually fighting the other side? Now, I don't believe there's two sides. I really believe there's one big aisle because they work in tandem. They enable each other. Nancy Pelosi has voted for all of Trump's military budgets and giving him more money than he ever wanted. This isn't a joke. Since the 1960s, Americans have wanted health care for all. Since the 1960s, there's a video of Nancy Pelosi, I think it was in 1988 or 89, something like that, where she was talking about, oh yes, universal health care, and I'm going to push, and we're going to get it. And literally, that's more than my entire lifetime. And we haven't been able to accomplish that. How can you expect people to sit there and wait for a committee to do that? What did the committee that had all these supposed progressives in there, including John Kerry, who's apparently a progressive, do anything this time for progressives? It didn't do shit. Joe Biden says, I'm not banning fracking. Screw the Green New Deal. I'm going to veto Medicare for all. What did your fucking committee achieve at all? It didn't achieve anything. And then we can even go back to 2016, the Unitary Reform Commission. What good did that fucking do when they rig elections? Literally, if you think Joe Biden won the primary, you're a chump. He didn't win the primary. He was selected. He went from fifth place to first place. People didn't vote for Joe Biden. The Democratic Party installed him there. They installed Kamala, who couldn't even win her own state. We could talk about that for days. You guys know I can talk about elections for days, but that's the reality. So you're not going to tell me that people haven't tried every other avenue, that people haven't tried to reform the Democratic Party, that people haven't tried to go through the procedural process of having a progressive caucus, which in the hell is the point of having a progressive caucus if the progressive caucus is so progressive that they refuse to push something as basic as Medicare for all? As basic. Third world countries have Medicare for all. Are we then a third world country that can't give their people something so basic in the middle of a pandemic? If a pandemic doesn't force you to have something like that, to have something as basic, what is going to force you? Why are you so angry? Why are these people so much more upset and angry and outraged at people pointing out the very obvious that we don't have friends in DC, that we have elected progressives who aren't going to stand up to Mama Bear Pelosi. Mama Bear, we feed you Pelosi, who aren't going to stand up to Chuck Schumer, who aren't going to stand up to any of these Democrats, these warmongering imperialist Democrats who are going to push Joe Biden and his administration that is literally putting freaking every single Goldman Sachs, the NSA, the CIA, military-industrial complex, drone warfare experts. I mean, these are the people that told you to vote for Joe Biden to mitigate damage and say, we'll push him left. We'll put his feet to the fire. And when you do just that, when you start doing that just now because you know that there's no time to wait, they say, no, not like that. No, but not like that. No, sorry. It's an excuse. They never wanted to push Biden left. These people, this group of what they call themselves progressives, and I don't even want to call myself progressive anymore because it's lost all its meaning. Everybody's a progressive. Nancy Pelosi's a progressive. John Kerry's a progressive. Dianne Feinstein thinks she's a progressive. I mean, it's lost all its meaning. And what these people do is that they use the same brand that real leftists want. They use the same exact brand, but they have zero intention of actually changing the system. They have zero intention of actually challenging the status quo, because you know why? Because they benefit from the status quo. Because at the end of the day, they still have these jobs, whether it's as journalists or whether it's as politicos or political analysts, they still have this desire to be on top. So if it's a progressive brand that's sort of sounds better and is slightly better than the liberal brand and shows a little bit of controlled opposition to it, but doesn't really challenge the system, doesn't really change the system in any way, then they'll still get to be on top. They'll still get to be the ones that you go to for the news. They'll still get to be the ones that get to dictate what is true and what isn't. They'll still get to be the ones that get every single accolade of being real news or being a real intelligent analytical politicos. That's what it is. It is progressives thought that they were changing leaving the liberal. No, the liberal is infested in them. There is this sense of superiority in that progressive movement that I consider myself an intellectual. I'm a well-educated woman, but at the same time, I understand when I see the way these people talk down to people like Jimmy Dore. How dare the pleb say anything like that? He's not supposed to know what he's talking about. He needs to stay in his lane. That's not okay. I'm sorry you don't like that somebody that's a comedian has more insight than you, but he does. And I'm sorry if that makes you feel like you wasted 4 years at fucking Harvard. I'm sorry, but that's the reality. You don't need to be book smart, to be insightful, or have an emotional intelligence. You don't need to be book smart to know these things. This is why so much of our country voted for Donald Trump, because they felt like he wasn't this elitist intellectual that was just going to talk down to them like, oh, you're stupid. We're going to pretend you're stupid. And yes, there are a lot of uneducated people in America, but that doesn't mean they're stupid. There's a difference. People can sense when you're fake, and nobody likes fake people. Like, they don't, except these liberals that live in their little echo chambers. They're the only ones that can't see through the bullshit, and they get so mad when others point out the bullshit. And that's all that's been happening with Dore and with a lot of us that have been saying, no, screw these people, right? And so there's a divide here, and I've been talking about this divide, about the anti-imperialist, the anti-censorship, and, the more understanding of foreign policy left, right? And then the left that only wants Medicare for all, because as important as Medicare for all is to me, I also think these other things are important, because you can have Medicare for all, but you can still be in control in a system where they can control everything and change it whenever they decide. And so that is actually what we need to understand, that this doesn't just happen overnight. This has been a long time coming, a long time coming. It comes down to the fact that those of us who understand that we can no longer try the same tired old processes of going after the Democratic Party let's be nice and talk to Pelosi and sit down and have a Zoom meeting and have 20 Zoom meetings and literally just talk about stupid shit that doesn't matter, or the committees that they were talking about. Like, David Serrato wrote the Jacobin article, right? And in his Jacobin article, he's talking about, we have to do these 5 things to get Medicare for all. And he talks about some of these things that he talks about would only exist via getting Joe Biden to really do something, via getting these politicians to actually do something, to actually change who they are. I'm sorry, that's not going to happen. You guys need to understand the difference between electoralism and direct action. And yes, you should do both, but right now we have no power in the electorate, because the only people that are supposed to fight for us aren't going to do it. And a lot of us knew that they weren't going to do it. They weren't going to not vote for Pelosi, and they were also not going to withhold their vote for Medicare for all. We knew that. But it was worth a try to expose to see whether they were going to try it or not. And if they did try it, who would vote against it? Sure, you might think you know who's going to vote against it, but do you really? That's such a weak argument. Oh, we already know who's going to vote against it. So what? If it's such a stupid idea, then why not just do it? If it's such a stupid idea, why don't you just go ahead and do it? Like, their arguments are circular and they don't make sense because you know that they're looking for excuses for a cop-out. They're looking for excuses so they don't have to admit that they were wrong about yet another politician who sold them out. And whether it's AOC, Ilhan Omar, the squad, I don't care. They could redeem themselves by not voting for Nancy Pelosi. They could still do it. They could still hold the vote. And AOC goes out and say, well, no, this is not how it works. Things happen behind the scenes. It's the same bullshit propaganda that we get from neoliberals. Why does she get a pass? Why does anybody get a pass? I don't care who it is. None of these people get a pass, especially when the working class and the middle class are suffering so much every single fucking day. The fact that we've allowed it to get this far is a testament to how powerless we've become and how little reliability we have into understanding what direct action is. And we talked about direct action a few days ago on the show. We spoke about it. We literally said we don't have power in the electorate right now, and change isn't going to come through there. It's not going to come from you voting your way out of this because they're not going to allow you to. That's what you need to understand. It's going to come from direct actions. It's going to come from us coming together, having sit-ins, having strikes, shutting it down. That's the only option people have right now. And I guarantee you people would be willing to do it if one of these people, whether it was AOC, Ilhan Omar, Bernie Sanders, said, you know what, we're gonna hold a strike, we're gonna shut down the economy until we get these things that we want. And if we don't get what we want, we're not gonna stop. That is how change happens. You disrupt the system. You make the system stop and halt in its tracks. Change does not come from you sitting there and voting for somebody every 4 years, especially in a system that is so corrupt and so unreliable, in a system where most people in this country don't vote because they don't believe it makes a difference. And that's not their fault. The system has shown them time and time again that it doesn't make a difference. The system has shown them that you put somebody in there that's a populist and representative of the people, and they don't win. Or they get torn down, or they get maligned. They kick them out. That's what the system has continuously shown people. And so I'm of the belief that the only way we're going to get anything done is if we actually ignore those people that call themselves progressives and leftists, but are just mocking this very simple, basic action. If we ignore those people and actually continue to speak louder and speak more, whether you're more angrily, more honestly, more blatantly about what's going on, because there's nothing more effective than actually having people come together instead of apart. And the thing that we need to do is understand that we're fighting the system. You're not just, Nancy Pelosi is but a pawn of the system, right? But it is that system that has kept her in there for decades and decades and decades, and has amassed this power that she has. And without that power, you could potentially change the electorate. But it's not going to happen by them giving it to you. It's just not. The only way that's going to happen is if you take that power back. And there are so many things that we have talked about, like the sit-ins, the strikes, direct actions, people coming together, unionizing, doing all these things. But that has to happen. It has to be a threat. You have to be a threat. Your voice has to be a threat because it's not being represented. It's in our very same Constitution. It's in the Declaration of Independence that when the government fails to do the will of the people have the right to overthrow it. I'm not necessarily saying go be an anti-American fugitive, even though that seems kind of attractive to some of us. But what I am saying is is your God-given right or your self-given right to actually do that, to actually challenge the system via a direct action that puts these people in their place. It is not a minimal thing. It is not a thing that is so just dumb or ineffective or just disruptive that doesn't do anything. It's not mere symbolism. It is much more than that, because this would be a small direct action, but it would be larger in having a cascading effect thereafter. And that's what these people don't see, or they don't want to see, because it's not convenient for them. And when I'm looking at history tells us that we're right. History tells us that the only way to do this is to actually push the electorate through a mass movement. It doesn't happen the other way around. It's happening all over the world right now. We saw what happened in India. We've seen what's happened in Chile. We've seen what's happened in multiple places around the world, including France, including Spain. We've seen this happen. It is absolutely entirely possible. But a lot of the progressives get stuck in the electoral politics, so we have to sit down and we need to remove this person. Who's going to remove that person? These progressives, right? They're supposed to do their job. Well, they're not doing it. So how do you push them to do it? Well, you threaten their livelihood. You threaten their comfortability. That's what you do. And that's what Jimmy Dore is saying. That's what a lot of us have been saying. Like, there's no way you're just going to ask nicely and that they're just going to give you anything. And that's pretty much where we're at right now. And there's no excuse to be making right now to say, well, it's just going to ruin any chance of AOC getting a committee. Who gives a fuck about AOC's committee? Like, I'm not here to care about which committee she gets kicked out of. I'm sorry. It's not, that's irrelevant to me. She's supposed to represent the people. Oh, but Nancy Pelosi, it's gonna fail anyway, and they're not gonna be able to do anything next time. Who says what? When we're not gonna be able to do anything? When Nancy Pelosi retires, or that's when we're not able to do anything. It's gonna be like Obama. Like when Obama was there and he was completely opposed, the same shit is gonna happen. We can't allow that to happen. This is the one chance we have. This is the one entrance way we have. And we just have to grab it by the bullhorns. We have to absolutely do it. And there's no other way. And again, like I said, this is a very minimal direct action. That's also direct action mixed with electoral politics. This isn't even like a straight up direct action, like a general strike that I'm talking about. This is like a last attempt to work within the electoral system, because to me, these people aren't going to work with us, so screw it. But the reason I'm okay with what Jimmy was doing and I'm on board with it is because look what's happened. These hacks are exposing themselves. TYT, Anna Kasparian out there exposing herself, bringing in Tulsi Gabbard out of nowhere. I mean, literally, she brought out Tulsi Gabbard, but Tulsi Gabbard has nothing to do with this. And all these hacks, Francesca Fiorentini talking about her text exchange with Jimmy Dore when she's still pushing Russiagate and the Syrian chemical attacks and works for MSNBC now. I mean, I can go down the list of these people completely exposing themselves. All the people on the Sam Cedar show or whatever, Majority Report, all these people, because they are part of that system. They profit off of it. And it's really disappointing to see David Serrata, right, go on and condescend in his article. His article was extremely condescending, and that bothered me the most. Well, yes, this is good, but we can't make a spectacle. Like, come on, man. If you're gonna talk down to people like that, I'm sorry, you're gonna get some pushback, because it is a very basic thing. It is a very basic thing. And yes, more should be done. But they can't even do that. So what makes you think that they're going to do more if they can't even do something as basic as bringing it to a floor vote? Oh, well, it'll fail. Okay, so if it fails, then we'll see it fail. People will see that they said no to you during a pandemic, that they denied you Medicare for all during a pandemic. Isn't that important to show? Isn't that worth it? So people know, because some people still don't know. Some people still think that politicians have the best interests for them. that they care. No, they don't. They don't. We know that they don't. But a lot of people in general America think that, no, there's no way that our country lies to us all the time. That there's no way that these politicians are that evil. That there's no way that there's a deep state that controls everything and moves everything around. That's a conspiracy theory. In order to show people that this is true, that would be a good way to expose it. And it doesn't hurt anybody. At the end of the day, all it does is show you the truth. And if we can't even do something as basic as that, if our elected, the most progressive people, right? AOC, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, Rokana, all these people, if they can't even do that, then why are you going to continue to participate in a system by putting in more of them into the Democratic Party? What is going to show you that it's going to be any different? And maybe this is what needed to happen for people to see. And I'm glad, because now people are exposing themselves as hacks for the establishment and as people that are serious about standing with the people, that are serious about fighting the status quo, that are serious about taking on the establishment. That's what it is. I mean, at the end of the day, that is all we have right now. The only leverage we have is the leverage of the people. And I've said it countless times. I've seen Shama Sawant use her leverage as a city councilwoman. She's not a Democrat, true, but she uses the people. She literally doesn't just sit there and say, well, I'm going to hope that they pass this. No, she gets people to go out in a protest and gets things done that way. AOC, with her 9 million followers, could do that. People would follow her. Why isn't that happening? Why isn't there a general strike right now when people literally haven't had money in months? I mean, I'm getting emails from people and I'm hearing their stories and I'm hearing how they can't pay their rent, how they can't pay their homes, how they don't know how much longer they're having to move back, full adults, 40 years old, moving back into their parents' house because they can't afford, because they can't find a job. And you're yelling because Jimmy Dore says bad words. Like, seriously, if you have more of an issue with Jimmy Dore's cursing words and Jimmy Dore's like attitude or his tactics are ripe for this time. His tactics are spot on. We don't need to be nice anymore. Why do you care about somebody having a potty mouth more than you care about what these people are doing? That is the problem with the liberals and a lot of the progressives. You care more about symbolism, platitudes, than about actual actions. You pay attention. Joe Biden says, oh, yay, I'm going to mask for the first 100 days. And you, all of a sudden, you end up saying, oh, well, maybe he'll be better. What? Because he said something in rhetoric? Oh, yes, I'm going to ensure that we help Americans. You buy that because it's still vague and it sounds nice? Sounding nice isn't enough anymore. People need tangibles. People need actions. People need to see that these electeds care about them. And that's not happening right now. In fact, they're mocking us and laughing in your face and saying you're being divisive. Well, be divisive then. Be divisive, because what else do you have? What else do you have? These people you do not work for them. They work for you. They are public servants. We need a reminder of that. You need a definition of what it is to be in Congress. They're there to push laws, make laws, and get things done. They're not there for you to sit there and clap and stand them in any way possible at all. And that's what people need to understand, and that's why people are so mad at those pointing it out. Because it destroys this team cheer. Let's cheer for this football team red and the football team blue narrative. It destroys that narrative. Simple. It's as simple as that. And I'm gonna have a few more videos coming out, but I really wanted to come on here and talk about that because it's I don't know. It's really telling to see now where these people stand and how right we have been on this issue multiple times. And I honestly think that, I didn't want to be right. Jimmy didn't want to be right. A lot of us didn't want to be right. But that's what happened. That's what happened. We ended up being right when it comes to a lot of these people, a lot of these, whether you want to call them progressives or whatever, but they're not fighting with you. They're not ready for they'll talk about revolution. They'll say all these things. Oh, yay. Ooh, like guillotines, but they're not serious. I'm not even saying go bring a guillotine, but I am saying go and actually bring the truth. Bring something that's tangible for people. Bring something that's just. And to be frank, it's this is a good thing that people are exposing themselves. It's a good thing. Because I think before, some people were still clinging on to this hope that maybe things would be different. And now they're seeing that that's not the case. They're seeing that the reality is the system is corrupt. It's so corrupt that it corrupts everything it touches. And maybe some of these people go in with good intentions. Maybe they were always like this. Maybe that's how they got into power. I don't know, and I frankly don't care at this point. What I do care about is that we actually fight and do the right thing, that we actually stand up for, not just for each other, but for any sort of future we may have. And that we fight this idea that it is stupid to try what Jimmy's trying, that we fight this idea that, you don't understand how politics works in DC because he's not talking about these committees and these exchanges and all of these rules. And it doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. That's not the point. The point is they have to get it done. They got elected. You didn't get elected. They did. So it's their job to do something very simple and something very basic. And it's funny to me that all these people saying, well, push the Democrats, push Biden, push this. Well, now that you're doing that, they don't like it. So were they ever serious about it? No, they were never fucking serious. They were never serious about it. So you know what? You're doing the right thing if you are pushing AOC, if you are pushing the progressives, if you are telling them that they have to do this, if you are calling them, if you are doing whatever it is. And this is but one issue, because you know that our elections are such an important issue, and the progressive contingent doesn't even care about it because they still think that we have a democracy, and we don't. And so this is one step further and showing you that, and showing you that you don't have friends in DC, and showing you that politicians are going to be politicians, that you can't necessarily rely on them. And the left isn't being divided. The real left is there, and everybody else is exposing themselves as hacks, as people who literally want to continue this imperialist, anti-human expansion, this subjugation of working class people, that they don't care because they're fine and they got it good. That's what it is. Or they want to intellectualize people's working lives when people don't have that luxury to intellectualize the politics that are going inside DC. They don't have that opportunity. They don't have that time because they're out there working every single day, or not working because they don't have a fucking job. So you don't get to go there and pretend you're all high and mighty because you somehow go and understand these committees that don't do crap for people and haven't done crap for people. We're not going to get anything out of that, Matt Stoller. We're not going to get anything out of that, David Serrata. We're not going to get anything out of that. Not right now. The time is ripe for direct action, and that's what we have to do. And support people like Jimmy Dore, support people like us, support people that are telling the truth. And I hope more than ever, it's apparent who those people are, who are here, not the thing that gets me the most about the whole thing is talking about how Jimmy is just grifting and getting angry because of his because that's what his audience wants. No, he's angry like I am angry because it's not fair what's happening, because he feels for people. That's why he's angry. Otherwise, he would just be, like intellectualizing like Sam Cedar. Oh, yeah, I read Marx the other day and it was great, praxis, and all these other bullshit that they talk about. Otherwise, that's what he would be doing. But no, he talks about real working class issues, real things that people care about. He has on other people that are activists. He literally, and this isn't because I'm a Jimmy Dore fan only. This is like because, I like Jimmy, but at the same time, he is one of several that has been saying this. We have been talking about this. Others have been talking about this. This is it. He's not alone. You're not alone if you think like this either. And that's what you have to understand. You're not alone. We're not alone. It's time to fight back. It's not time to back down. You're doing the right thing by pushing these people. And there's got to be even more of it. Progressives should not vote for Pelosi, period. That shouldn't even be a contingent. They shouldn't vote for her, period. And if they do, well, now you know whose side they're on. Oh, but the Republican's going to win. There's no guarantee that would happen, by the way. That's just fear mongering. There's no guarantee. Anybody could run to be speaker. They could run a progressive to be speaker, but they won't because they're scared of opposing her. And she's the gatekeeper that's keeping a lot of the things going. She's working with the Republicans in tandem to keep the things that we want out. Otherwise, we'd have them already when over 70% of the population wants something as simple as healthcare for all, including Republicans. You know that the problem isn't that the people don't want it. The problem is that the money interests don't, and these politicians who are owned by them don't want it. And that's all it is. So thank you guys so much for watching. I will be having more videos up. And thank you so much for supporting us. Let me see if I can look through any of these chats. Okay. Let me look through them. I'm sorry. I'm really bad. Okay. Jim Garrison, thank you for the super chat contribution. That is all I'm seeing. Okay, wait. All right, David. They are afraid of the great Jimmy Dore. Yeah, they're afraid because he exposes them. He exposes all of them. Let me see. Okay. David again, thank you. Jesus, Spartacus, Che Guevara, Chris Hedges, Jimmy Dore. North American Ape. If they refuse to fight for Medicare for all during a pandemic, then when? When everyone is nice and comfortable, when the mandate is gone? This is just sad. 100%. If there's a chance to fight for Medicare for all, now is the time. This is it. Nene, love you, Fee. Stay strong. Thank you. Turbo GG. They hate Jimmy Dore because he can speak effectively to Trumpists from the left, which undermines the ruling class, quote, Civil War strategy. You know what? That's exactly true. We have a lot of people who also watch our show who are on the right, and they say, you know, we don't agree with your ideology, but we like what you say because you're honest. And that's something important, and I think Jimmy gets that too, because we criticize Democrats and we criticize Republicans, but the reason we've been criticizing Democrats a lot, like I said, is because the Democrats keep us from being able to fight the issues that we really care about. They cripple us, and you're right about the class war, because they want class war. Because if we have, they want civil war, because if they have civil war, we won't have class war. And that's a huge, huge problem. And that's not minimizing the issues that we have in this country regarding race. But what I am saying is that we have to fight the system. And there's a lot of populism going on and building on the right. And in order to even have that challenge of ideas, we need to have that populism on the left. And we don't have that right now. David, thank you again for the super chat. G-Force. Oh, it disappeared. Wait, G-Force. Thank you, G-Force. Your chat disappeared on me. Oh, there it is. It's so upsetting. Medicare for all is not a partisan issue. Just got hired after being unemployed since February and still no benefits. We're struggling and hurting. That's why I respect you and JD for talking about this. You know what? And I'm sorry that happened. It's happened to a lot of people. And, since February, we've gotten one $1,200 stimulus check, if that. Some people didn't get that, by the way. And the unemployment in most areas is like $200-$300 now that they've taken the $600 away. And people are looking for jobs and they can't find them. And they're shutting down again for the third time in California. So people are on the brink of self-collapse. I mean, they really don't know what to do. $5 for the road and the great Jimmy Dore. Thank you, David. Thank you so much for all the super chats. Jordan Allen. They are public servants. They work for you. Let them know that every chance you get. This is why I love Fee. Thank you, Jordan. And I think we have one last one. Steve Woolbrand. Thank you so much. We love you, Fee. Thank you, Steve. Appreciate you. And like I said, if you want to help Nina Turner, by all means, go ahead and do it. I just think right now I'm personally done with the Democratic Party. So thank you guys so much for watching. We will have a couple more videos out. We're traveling and stuff, so I'm sure Possible will be on. And then we'll get back on schedule in a couple weeks after the holidays. But thanks so much, guys. We appreciate you. And one last one. Anti-war. If 15 progressives left the Democratic Party and formed a new party right now, wouldn't they hold the balance of power? I think if they use the will of the people, if they use people pushing and, going and supporting them, because progressives, like I said, in Congress, they forget to use people. You can do that. You can use people like in a good way. Like you can use people that are angry, that need help, etc., to push this right now. And this is the time we have. It's a pandemic. They could get so much accomplished. Look at what happened with FDR during the New Deal and what happened. That didn't just happen because he was an amazing, awesome man. That it was because people were demanding that. We've lost sight of that we can demand these things, and that's how these things happen. And you're right. I mean, the Tea Party was able to do it, right? They were able to make Boehner cry. We can't do that. Progressives won't do that. They won't challenge their own. And that has to be what happens. And DJ Elf, thank you so much. You've been on a top inspiration for many years. Keep fighting. Thank you, DJ Elf. I appreciate that. Thanks so much, guys. You guys are wonderful for supporting us. We really appreciate it. Join the Rokfin if you haven't, because they don't censor you there. And they also have tipping there. I didn't get a chance to look at that, but we will check it out when we can. If you have supported us on Rokfin, thank you so much. And thank you for watching on Twitter. Thank you for the Patreon. Thank you to everybody that's always supportive of us. And Matthew Hansen, thank you so much for the tip on Rokfin. We appreciate you. We love you back. Thanks. All right, guys, that's it for the stream. We'll be back. Convo out. See ya. Bye.